the evening offering tonight. Amen. And he's talking about some people think he's crazy. I said, sometimes I worry about you. but I think a lot of them. Think a lot of he and his wife and precious people. And Sister Creasy's going to sing. Come out on, ushers, Lord, and bless this offering in Jesus' name. And just multiply it, Lord, and use it for its intended use. And we love you. Amen. Go right ahead, brother. Sing.
Here on earth we spend a lot of time in worry, trying to live and care for a home, trying to make a way so that one day we can say
it's already paid for.
It's already paid for.
It's already paid for.
It's already paid for. It's already paid for. No contract to sign, no fear of getting behind, no furniture to acquire, there'll be no need to be signed. Already paid for. I can see myself touching the walls of Jasper, walking on those streets of gold.
That's what he's doing tonight.
Look at those dancing girls, and never had it like it in this world. Half the things they're already paid for. It's already paid for.
It's already paid.
It's already paid for.
No contract to sign.
No contract to sign. No fear of getting behind.
No furniture.
No furniture to acquire.
There'll be no need to be signed.
It's already paid for.
One day if I'll just live close to Jesus.
If I'll just live close to Jesus, when my journey in this life is over, I'm here to give this plea. Come go home with me, where everything is already paid for. It's already paid for. It's already paid for. No contract to sign, no fear of getting behind, no furniture to acquire, there'll be no need to design. It's already paid for. My heavenly home is already paid for.
Praise the Lord.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I believe Brother Don Johnson over at Memphis was inspired of the Lord. He and I think maybe Charlie, his son, wrote that song. Brother Don Johnson sang. And he got his reward too. Yes, sir. The book of John, chapter 6, for our text tonight. Good to see you that are here. Always good to have Brother and Sister Martin. Great friends of ours. Loving the Lord together with them, and just Brother Grady Williams said, I'm on my way to heaven and running just as hard as I can run. And just come back. Well, I believe he said, I believe his words was, I'm running with all the sins I got. I believe it's what he used to say. Run with all the sins I got. John 6 verse 5. When Jesus then lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him, he said unto Philip, Whence shall we buy bread that these may eat? And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. He wasn't worried about himself. He was trying to prove the disciple. Philip answered him, 200 pennyworths of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said unto him, There's a lad here which had 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. I talked about them here just a few weeks ago. But what are they among so many? And Jesus said, Make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down in numbers about 5,000. And Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down, and likewise of the fishes as much as they would. And when they were filled, he said unto his disciples, gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. Now, I've preached along this line before, but I want to try to go at it a little bit different tonight, if the Lord will help me with the service, or the message tonight. I want to preach for just a few minutes. I won't keep you all night. Let nothing be wasted. Let nothing be wasted. Sing a chorus, Sister Creasy. Lay your Bibles down. Lift your voices to Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Father, we're so grateful.
Yes, we are.
Lord, we're so grateful. Thank you, Jesus. Bless your children tonight. Bless each one that's gathered here tonight. God, I pray in the name of Jesus that you will minister tonight. Thank you, Jesus. Give me the words to say, Lord. In Jesus' name. In Jesus' name. Lord, thank
you. We are standing in His presence
on holy ground. God bless you. Let me see you. I like that verse 12. I think tells the story there that nothing be lost or wasted. I asked myself as I read this, as like I said, I just used some of these verses here just a few weeks ago, but I asked myself the question, and they say it's okay to talk to yourself as long as you don't start answering yourself. And so I talked to myself, and I asked myself the question, but my problem was I got to answering it too. So I asked myself the question, why would Jesus be so concerned about a few crumbs when He could create the whole universe, when He could speak everything into existence? What is it about just a few crumbs of bread that concerned Him about being wasted? You could say, well, the Lord just don't like people to waste stuff. Well, that could be. But that ain't right. That's not the answer. And we could say a lot of things, but the answer simply lies in the fact that the way I understand this, and I know this is a parable, and I understand that Christ is speaking, you could probably go in half a dozen different directions with this thought tonight. But I really believe that as I prayed about this, I really believe the Lord laid it on my heart. And for me, I know I'm right. And for me, I know I got the answer. And I believe I got the answer from the Lord. And we can run references. We can get all kinds of commentaries and read them idiot's opinion. And that's all it is. It's an opinion. It'd be just like me writing commentary. It's just what I see. If I understand. But I really believe that I understand that the bread that Christ is in reference to about being wasted here was His body that had been broken for all of us. I don't believe He was in reference to the bread that the disciples break and fed the multitude. I don't believe that was His point in saying let nothing be lost or nothing be wasted. I think He's in reference to the body, His body that was broken for us, and what He represented and what His purpose was and is. I believe He's in reference because Jesus wasn't worried about a few crumbs of bread falling on the ground. He was in reference to the things that He of Himself, because a lot of times we as people, as Christians, a lot of times we think things are wasted. You know, sometimes the devil convinces me. If I'll let him, he'll convince me that a lot of years that I have spent in Covington has just been wasted time for you all. And he'll convince us many times, if we're not careful, that the things that we do are just wasted. The things that we go through And I went through some time in my life pastoring this church, and it was nobody. It didn't have anything to do with any people, anybody. It was just a time of testing, a time of trials, a time of problems in my life. And I went through several years of it that it seemed like for eternity that the baptistry was dry. It seemed like for eternity these cobwebs had taken over the baptistry. It just seemed like that I couldn't find the floor with both hands. It seemed like, and my wife will tell you, and Lord, I bet I resigned this church a dozen times. On Sunday night I'd resign, Monday morning I'd take it back. And I fought such a battle, I fought such a spirit, and I went through times in my ministry that it just didn't seem like nothing was productive. It didn't seem like anybody, the church wasn't growing. Matter of fact, it was shrinking. I had 32 people walk out along about that time on one Sunday and said, I hope you make it. I hope you pay the bills. And it's a time when, and the devil had convinced me that it was just wasted time, that I had just wasted my time, and that God wasn't blessing. I read the Word of God. I read the Bible, and the Bible talks about several men. It talked about a man named Moses that had grown up or had grew up living in a privileged life. He lived a life in Pharaoh's palace, and he didn't even know how to get his hands dirty. You got to understand the life of Moses. He didn't want for anything. Are you listening? He was unlike all the rest of his people that was under such pressure. He knew where he came from. He knew his life. He knew, the Bible said, when he became of years, he refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. Hey, stay with me just a few minutes. Let me build you a little foundation here. And he knew all about that. And he saw what his fellow man was going through under the hand of Pharaoh. He saw the pressure and how the Hebrews were, what they were going through. And it must have troubled him big time just to see what was going on. And then one day he saw, as you recall, he saw two fighting, and one of the people that he loved being mistreated. And so he acted in haste and just ran out and just killed the guy. How many remembers reading about that? He killed the one that was mistreating one of his people. And so Moses goes along, and then that meant that had a high price tag to it. That meant he had to flee into a faraway land. He no longer would he be in Pharaoh's palace. He ended up 40 years. You know where I'm going, I bet. He ended up 40 years, and he had to, being in a foreign land, a faraway land, he had to work with his hands for the first time in his life. He didn't even know how to work. He had to be trained and taught. I just wonder, Brother Martin, I wonder if there was ever a time in Moses' life during that 40 years, I wonder if he ever thought, boy, this is a waste. I am wasting my time. 40 years, he was in the wilderness, and he didn't even know what kind of plants you could eat. He ain't never had to do it. He didn't know where the water hose was. He never had to look for a watering hose. He didn't know anything about the wilderness. Are you understanding? He didn't know the first thing. And all of a sudden, this Moses became a great man of God. Yes, sir. That we know as Moses. God began to talk. You know, you don't never, and I stand corrected, but I think I'm right. I didn't read, I tried to find in the Bible where God talked and Moses talked to each other before the 40 years. But after and during the 40 years, we find God speaking to Moses. God began to, when God told him to talk to the burning bush, when he told him to go down to Pharaoh, listen to what Moses did. He said, you go to Pharaoh and you set my people free. And he said, let Aaron do it. You know, he made all kinds of excuses. I'm not adequate to speak. Right. But as time went on, Moses became a leader and could relate to the people better now because he lived in the wilderness.
Yes, sir.
He lived there in this faraway land. He worked the soil. He labored as he never had before.
Right.
He had to be taught. I believe, as sure as anything, God used these 40 years to train him.
Right. Right.
It wasn't a waste.
All right.
But I do not believe that there wasn't times in his life that he thought it was a waste.
Yes, sir.
Just like you and I, we go through trials, we go through problems in life, we fight devils. I know that you've been fighting for the last, 18 months, did he say? I know, I can only imagine what it's been like. And I can only imagine what the devil tries to convince you. I can only imagine what it's like. But I don't think you're here just by chance. I think you walked right into the message that God wanted you to hear. That nothing you do for God is a waste of time. Nothing you go through, every trial you fight, every devil you come against, every hell that comes against you is a training ground for you to make it with God. It is not, somebody holler at me, it is not a waste of time. Come on, Moses, you get a lesson you wouldn't have got in Pharaoh's palace. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Praise the Lord.
40 years was not a waste. I read another story about Joseph, sold into slavery and ended up in Egypt. What a waste it could have been. It could have been by the enemy's point of view. Falsely accused, put in prison, stayed there a long time and was forgot about. I believe the Bible backs what I just said. They forgot all about Joseph. But God didn't forget about Joseph. All the wasted time that the enemy probably tried to convince Joseph of, God was taking that time and preparing Joseph for one of the greatest ministries that you can have. Somebody help me a minute. God didn't forget about it. After interpreting Pharaoh's dream, he was let out of prison and made governor. I'd like to send Joseph a message. I would like to have been there to say, Joseph, don't worry about what you're going through because nothing is a waste. God said, Jesus did, let nothing be wasted, let nothing be lost. Honey, I'm going to tell you, from my point of view, he ain't talking about cornbread and biscuits. He's talking about the ministry. It's not going to be wasted. He turned the bread, he rained down manna from heaven, he sent quail to the Israelites, he opened up the door of blessing, he brought water out of a rock, he brought water out of the side of a mountain. Is anybody hearing me? Don't tell me he's worried about a basket full of crumbs. He's talking about himself. Let nothing be wasted. The ministry that I brought before you, don't let it be wasted. The miracles you saw me do, don't let them be wasted. The battles and the trials that you go through, don't let it be a waste. You get up in the morning, somebody ought to sing, thank God for blessing me. Thank God for the blessing on me, I believe is the name of it. Because it's not a waste of time. When you're fighting the devil, honey, you're gaining ground. It would have been easy. It would have been easy for Joseph to have said, boy, I wasted a lot of time down here doing all this, especially those ones that I was in prison. That was a waste. After all, Brother Martin, it wasn't his fault that he was there. It wasn't by his choice that he was put in that prison. But God used all of this for God's glory and for God's honor. Joseph was able to save his family during a famine because the time that he spent as a slave, the time he spent as a prisoner, the time he spent as governor, it trained Joseph. It got him ready for a ministry that God was going to use. Now Joseph is not the same young man that was sold into slavery. He's matured now. He's a man of God now. He's come to grips with things. And I want to tell you, I want to tell every one of you that's fighting hell tonight, let me tell you, when you come through this, you're not going to be the same young man or the same young woman you were when you entered that valley, when you entered that trial. You're going to come out victorious because nothing will be wasted. If you'll fast forward that tape on down to the time when Joseph met his brethren, and the Bible teaches us that Joseph wept and he cried over his brethren. He didn't hold grudges against them because for what they had done. Joseph had matured. He changed during those years. I'm going to tell you, when I fought that battle that I mentioned to you here, I mentioned it to you, I didn't go through the whole story because it's too lengthy and you've heard it before, I think, anyway. But when I got through that, when that prophet called me out in the Millington church and told me what to do, Brother Crumman, and I got through that situation, I was a stronger minister than I was when I entered that situation. Praise the Lord. And then there was a man by the name of the Apostle Paul. What a man of God. He spent the first part of his life as a devout Jew. The scripture teaches us he was a persecutor of the Christians and was present at the stoning of Stephen. Once he became a Christian, I can only imagine it was hard for him to forgive himself for what he had done. I like what one preacher said. I have to refer to it a lot. You get tired of hearing it. You do like this. I'd like to see the look on Stephen's face when he walked down the Golden Avenue and met Paul, which was at that one time Saul of Tarsus. I bet he said, how'd you get here? He probably said, if you can make it, anybody can. Are you understanding what I'm saying? All the time that the apostle was living at that time he was Saul, all that time was not wasted time. I'm not saying that God approved of that situation, but I'm saying God takes a lot of time, things that he may not approve of, and turns it around and uses it for our benefit to lift us up. Is anybody hearing me preach tonight? I'm preaching to us. If you're waiting for me to preach, you're missing it. I mean, I'm preaching right now. I'm telling you, God is not going to allow anything to be wasted. I read a story. I love to read stories. Different story here tonight. I read a story about a glass factory. One that produces glass. And how glass started out. It starts out with a couple of natural ingredients. Sand, sodium, ash, limestone, and one or two more. It depended on what color you want the glass. They wanted the glass. Then it's heated at about 1,500 degrees until it's melted together. Stay with me for a few minutes. Then it's put back into the fire until it glows white hot. Then it's removed and goes through a number of processes depending on what it will become. It might be twisted, shaken, rolled, pressed, or into a mold, brown, or blown into a mold, put back into the fire, and dumped into the water. This is all a process. Then finally, it is what it's supposed to be, and it's sent to the finishers, the finishing area, to have the rough spots sanded off, polished, and sometimes painted. Then it's a beautiful piece of glass that will be bought and cherished by someone. And then the story says, Brother Mark, that they take the broken edges and the pieces that they chipped off and sanded off that had been broken, and they separated it according to the color. And then it's sent back through the fire to be made into something else. And the ones that the colors are too closely together that couldn't be separated were sold to a marble factory and made into marble. And the story said nothing is wasted. And I thought that's just the way God does us. Sometimes He sends us through the furnace, through the fire, dresses us up, cleans us up, and then sometimes we have to go back into the fire so that nothing is wasted. I believe, I'm going back to my sermon, I'm about finished. I believe the bread represented the presence of the body of Christ that was broken for us, that He talked about in His life. And I think He was saying, let nothing be wasted. Everything Jesus done, everything He accomplished, every parable. I've heard people say, well, that's just a parable, as if to say that's not important. I've heard people say, well, that's Old Testament, that's not important. I've heard people say, if I buy a new Bible, I want a red letter edition. I don't know what Jesus said. Honey, you just open it from Genesis to the Mounts, Jesus said. Nothing is to be wasted. The parables, the sermons, everything points to who Jesus was and who and what He represents and what His purpose was on the earth. Don't you love Him tonight? Amen. I'm hurrying. I'm trying to get there. So if Jesus made a difference in everything, it made a difference in that those crumbs of bread, if it was important enough that He didn't want it wasted, how much greater are you and me to Jesus? If Jesus could make everything in His life on this earth count, every step He took, every mile He walked, every devil He cast out, every sermon He preached, are you understanding me? If He could say, let it count, don't let it waste, what about your life and my life? Did you know Paul picks up Romans and says, and we know that all things work together, Romans 8:28, that all things work together for good. Now, it never said all things are good. It's like making a cake or making a chicken and dressing or something of that sort. You've got to have all your ingredients or it ain't worth a flip. I can take my spoon and I can get me up a big old hand or a big old spoonful of chicken and dressing and put it in my mouth, and I can tell you right off it's Sister Creasy made it. Because it's got all the ingredients.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called or called according to His purpose. So if we are called according to His purpose,
Yes, sir.
that means our purpose has become His purpose. Whatever He will, we will. Are you hearing me? All things work together. All the trials, all the hell that you go through, all the persecution, all the fighting you go through, put it all together, and it somehow works together for good because it's building something in you. Every trial I've ever fought, and I'm sure I'll fight another one over this service tonight. But hey, you know, it ain't no big deal, man. I've been here before. Stan Cook sang the song, I've weathered the storm before. And it works to my good, because when I come out on the other side, and I'm coming out, I'm going to be stronger than I was when I entered in. I hope I'm making sense to you. Everything Jesus does worked good. So that means that since we are in Him and have the same purpose, just as nothing in Jesus was wasted, then nothing in our life is wasted either. If you look back at Moses, and I'm closing here in the jail, if you look back at Moses, as I've already mentioned, he knew nothing about the wilderness because he was raised in a palace. Are you understanding, Brother Jim? He didn't even know, like I said, he didn't know what food, he didn't know where, he didn't know he could pull up a plant or break off a plant. He didn't know anything about what he could eat or nothing. He's Moses. He was raised in a palace. That's all he knew. The life of luxury. Then Moses met Jethro and was taught some things, and he learned how to lead sheep. You know, sheep stink. Well, I ain't never seen an animal that didn't stink. So I said, oh, not my dog. Yeah, honey, your dog, you just let him get wet and leave him out a little while. He'll stink. He'll smell like a wet dog. You give him a bath and get him squared away, but let him get wet outside again, he'll be stinking. It's like a pig. You break a pig in the house, put him in the bathtub, shine him up, get you a GI brush, we used to call it, and the GI him real good, scrub up his legs, you know, and on his arms like that, and put him back out in the yard, he becomes a pig again. He goes right back to the slime. Moses didn't know a lot of things. He's out there and he's out there now and he lived in a palace and now, but all of a sudden, Brother Martin, he walks up to a burning bush. And my Bible said, I believe my Bible said Moses turned to see the bush. And the bush is talking to him. And he's talking to him. Boy, you're going to think that won't do, get you. So you talk to yourself or talk to a bush. And here he is. And Moses could have turned and walked away, but the Bible said he turned to the bush. Now he could have turned and walked away from that bush. I'm saying, yep. God told him to take off his shoes. Said the ground you're on is holy because God was there. Right. It had to do with the ground. It was the presence of God. I heard a preacher preach one time at one of our conferences, Brother Martin. He preached, he read that scripture where Moses took his shoes off and he went over and picked up with Joshua, and the angel told Joshua to take his shoes off. Well, he preached on the subject, 2 pair of shoes too many. And so Moses takes his shoes off and talking to the bush. Now remember, he could have turned from the bush, but he didn't. He turned to the bush. And I got a thought out of that. If he had turned from the bush, he would have been turned from the situation and would have never got to where God wanted him to go.
Right.
Because God had to give him some instructions. So he had to turn to the bush. And he had to talk to God from the bush. If he turned away, he would have never reached where God wanted him to be. And sometimes if God takes away the trial, we'll never get to where God wants us to be.
Right.
Is anybody hearing me preach? Nothing will be wasted. Nothing will be wasted. All the struggle, the times I struggle, it's not wasted. The things that I have gone through in the ministry, it's not wasted. If Moses had not have gone through the wilderness, if he had not spent 40 years in the wilderness, he could have never endured with God's people trying to carry them across the wilderness. Because he had to go through some things that was not wasted. If Moses, he went through that wilderness, he's leading sheep. Jethro's got him leading sheep, singing love songs, but he got trained to lead Israel through the wilderness.
Right.
They had to have a leader. Nothing, Moses, you've been through will be wasted. Everything we go through is just practice to lead us to where we are right now.
Amen.
It's hard to understand, hard to get a hold of that.
Right.
It's the truth nonetheless. Everything I go through brought me right where I'm at tonight.
Right.
The experience I have had. I've been passing on, going on, I guess would probably be going on 38 years, 37 and a half, 38 years. Been almost 36 here. And everything that I went through has brought me right where I'm at tonight.
Amen.
Are you understanding, Brother Jim?
Yes, sir.
And I want to tell somebody here tonight, everything you go through, everything you've been going through, has brought you right where you're at tonight.
Amen.
That's why you're here.
Amen.
Just like that glass, that vase that's been broken or flawed, sent back into the fire, reworked. When we place our lives, listen carefully, I'm closing. When we place our lives, including our past failures, our past mistakes, into the hand of Jesus, He makes something beautiful out of us. Sister told me the other night, she told me about a problem she had. Me and her and my wife was in the office, and she was telling me about this problem she had, or telling us about it, and she said, I have just put it in the hands of Jesus. I said, I cannot think of a better place for it to be besides in the hands of Jesus. I have to take all my past failures. I got to take all my mistakes. Brother Martin, you said that you were having a hard time understanding or having a hard time surrendering or something of that sort. I heard you mention. What you have to do is just take everything, past and present. And when we put it in the hands of God, He molds it into something beautiful. Don't you love Him? Your life will never be wasted, Brother Jim. I know you took a big setback with that hand. And Lord knows I ain't even going to try to explain to you what God had on His mind. But it ain't wasted time. I can promise you. God don't waste time. If He told them, don't let anything be wasted, then He won't let anything in our life be wasted. Come stand with me around the front. Come stand. Jesus. Or kneel, whichever you prefer. Join me in the front. Thank you, Jesus.